Welcome to Because We Can. My name is Jay, an advocate and conscious seeker. Each week, we will explore inspiring messages to help us unlock our truest potential and power within all of us to become the best versions of ourselves. When we believe we can, we are absolutely limitless. Thank you for joining me today. Now let's dive in and see what today's message brings us.
Aw, Jay, wanna say hi? Say hi to the camera. No, you don't want to say hi. All right, take two. We're gonna get this right, Bo. We're gonna get this right. Hello, and welcome back to Daily Talks with Jay. That sounded nice, huh? Today's Daily Talk, I wanted to dive into what it means to feel this constant pressure to keep up and to always make a name for oneself and to feel like you have to be somebody in this big old world that we live in. I was watching a YouTube video, speaking of social media, I was watching a video earlier this morning that inspired this talk for today. And basically, it was a couple, and I believe they have their own podcast too. Very new to them. I don't know any of their other previous videos, but it happened to be in my feed, and I went ahead and tuned in. And basically, they were talking a lot about what is now referred to as cool kid syndrome, and it plays off of the idea of keeping up with the Joneses. That phrase has been around for a long time, and I'm sure everybody knows the concept of feeling like we constantly have to be this perfect specimen that is always consistent, that is always growing, that is always leveling up, that is always great. Be great. Unleash your greatness, right? I'm sure all of us have heard this time and time again in some shape or form. And I wanted to reflect on that today because there's a lot of incessant need from everybody, especially going around on social media. We're more connected than ever, seeing people's highlight reels and seeing what other people are up to, this need to outdo ourselves from the previous year or outdo other people that we may know subconsciously, not really giving it intentional thought, but that's rooted in why we want to keep going and keep pushing ourselves for some people. I know for me, I have so many goals, so many ambitions just on my own. And sometimes I question whether a lot of those bigger goals are contributed to always watching people that I find similar to myself doing and accomplishing and growing themselves or building themselves. Yeah, sometimes I have to pause and reflect at times to stay true to me and what I desire and why I desire it. That's a good question to ask ourselves on a daily basis or very frequently, is the idea of, is this coming from me or is it coming from an external source? Because it's so easy, and I found over time as I get older, it's so easy to fall into this cycle or this trap of trying to be an exemplary model of what we think other people think we should be. There's a great quote by Jay Shetty, who is also part of the self-help and personal development community, and he quoted a saying, and it's basically the idea that what I think you think is what I think of myself, if that makes sense. So whatever I'm thinking, you're thinking that I am, that is how I often see and portray and perceive to be myself. I know it's a little complicated, but basically it's, we have a habit of trying to be somebody that we're not. So trying to be this great somebody, this person that has the biggest house, the baddest car, the trophy wife, the music accolades, all of these luxury materialistic things, right? Because we live in a materialistic world. Sometimes it's not as apparent on a day-to-day basis to some as it is to others, but I was talking to somebody that's really close to me, and they were saying that, my goal is to make as much money as I can. That's the goal. That's the reason. That's my why. And we had conversations and tried to dig a little deeper. And I noticed that as they were explaining the goals that they wanted to achieve and the things that they wanted to do, it made more sense behind the scenes, reading between the lines, that what they were saying wasn't aligning with what they really wanted. And I think to them, it's not as apparent or as explicit as it was made to me. But I had to dig deeper and really listen to what they were saying in order to unlock what that was. And it may not be apparent to them even to this day, but I know that it will along the way, because they're still young. They're still that go-getter, overachiever type of person. And I know with time that they'll learn to see, oh, this is actually what was in my heart. Because they have a big heart. They have so much to give. And I think with the age that they're at and the people that they surround themselves with and just the environment in general that they're in, it's a dog eat dog world, and they got to make it somehow, and that's a big thing for a lot of people. So it's understandable to have this continuous cycle of keeping up with the Joneses and feeling like we have to do something every day to get one step closer to that end goal. But really, it's just a means to an end. What I desire and what I hope others can see is that when we live by a means to an end, once we get to that end, what's next? What comes after that? We always are pushing to get to that finish line. And then we feel so unsatisfied when we get there. Best believe, I run into that on end every time, again and again. And it drives me crazy. It makes sense, but in real life, applying it is another story. And so just having patience and trying to pick at it little by little, ways in which we can ask ourselves, is this really what I want? And if not, am I scared about that? Am I a little worried? Am I tousled up a little bit? Will this take some time to reframe and rethink of the things that I need to do for myself? Okay, yeah, it is. But time is our friend, and I have to think about it in that way. So another thing is time. We always see it as this curse or this great enemy, Like, time waits for no man. But I had to actually reframe what time meant to me, because it was not my friend. It was my biggest critic and my biggest enemy aside from myself. And I feel like I constantly wanted to not waste time. But when I was doing that, all my energy unintentionally went towards wasting my time, because I felt like, oh, if I don't do this, I gotta catch up, and I'm gonna fall behind. And trying to put my energy in not trying to fall behind led to more time spent and more energy expended. I was just running in circles. And in that itself, I was spending time, not in the way that I wanted it to. I had to take some time to really think about, how can I use time wisely, and how can I have time on my side? Same thing with, how can I make money work for me? Or how can I have my relationships be healthy and supplemental and beneficial to me, you know? It all starts with ourselves and how we're showing up, because we're half of the picture. We're half of the puzzle. So going back to that initial concept of the pressure of trying to keep up, don't lose yourself. Don't lose yourself, Jay. Trying to become a content creator and going after those big dreams of yours. Do not lose yourself. Side note. Going back to you. Don't lose yourself in the ambitions that you have, the new territory that you're traveling into, unlocking, discovering about yourself. Stay true to you. And if you may not know your whole self, which that is always going to be a lifelong journey, nobody is going to be 100% aware of who they are in and out. Hopefully that brings comfort, because I have to remind myself every day that I'm still getting to know me. But if you don't have a clear sense right now of who you are, explore and really just do different things that you may have an interest in. And going back to the time piece of feeling like, oh, but what if I'm going to waste my time trying to figure out if I like this or figure out if I like that. I've learned that everything that I have done, which has been very random things, to, okay, this is similar to that makes sense, to, yeah, no, this does not make sense at all. Why did you do this and then you end up doing that? But when I look back on it, it's so beautiful, because each of those pieces lined up, maybe not in the moment where it didn't look like it was the right piece. Eventually, with time, it molded and shifted into the right piece. It's so funny looking back now. I can laugh, ha ha ha. Of all the things that once caused me so much heartache and so much stress and so much blood, sweat, and tears, I could not let myself have it be the end of it, you know? Like, I really worried about so many things. I'm still working through some things, but other things now I can look back and say, wow, what? Why were you so scared about that happening, or getting into that, or feeling like you wasted a year of your life? No. I feel like everything happened the way that it needed to, and the way that it did, so that it could lead me to this moment in time. And I have to still keep that frame of mind as I move each step closer to where I now want to go. And everything shifts and evolves, and what we were once passionate about before, we may not necessarily be passionate about now, or it may have taken a different shape. in a different form, and now we're wanting something in addition to that one specific thing or a few specific things. If you are someone who is like multi-passionate, I feel you. I am myself that kind of person. So cool kid syndrome, what is that in relation to trying to constantly keep up in this day and age with social media, with influencers, with people that are constantly on the internet telling you what you should do and what you should like and what you should try out. Part of being a cool kid is somewhat taking that credence in that direction of feeling like you have to know everything, feeling like you have to be a camera person, feeling like you have to be on all the time, feeling like you have to make a presence, feeling like you have to be the extroverted, life of the party type of person, not a wallflower, not someone who's super shy, not someone who likes to process their thoughts or keep things to just them, feeling like you have to make so much money and have X amount of things and accomplish that big goal. Like, it can be a lot. It could be overwhelming. And at the end of the day, you're left with, wow, what did I do? Sat around watching Netflix for 5 hours because I was so boggled down by this immense pressure to be this perfect person. I know I've been there. Or sabotaging this opportunity because I didn't think that I could make something of myself and really prove that I could do this and that I'm ready. I've been there. The list goes on and on. I think what we instead need to focus on is what's in here. What's in this great being that we are, this ball of light, this soul that chose to inhabit this specimen, this body. If you want to be esoteric and a little woo-woo with me on that note, why do we have to be this cool kid all the time? Why do we feel like we have to show up in a certain way all the time, wear a mask all the time? It's hard enough to be ourselves, to be true to us, to be confident in who we are. How can we get back to that? Or how can we bring that more to life? And so with this message and with me coming on here, I felt the passion to tell you that it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to be authentically you, authentic to you, and for you to trust in yourself. What do you want? What do you desire? Not what your family members want you to do, not what your spouse or your partner, your significant other, lover wants you to do, not what you think your kids would want you to do. It's ultimately, what do you want? You have this amount of time here to explore and to have fun and to discover and endlessly fall in love with who you are. And there's no greater gift than that. So what better time to do that than now? Start now. Start in the present, because the present is the greatest gift that we can receive. And yeah, get to really know yourself, get to really know myself. That is a reminder for me. And I'll leave with one question. Would we really want half the things that we want if social media never existed? If the way that we live right now never existed in the way that it does? Would we really want to go painlessly towards this big goal that we set for ourselves, this big task. And not to say that a challenge is never good to rise up to and rise to the occasion for. I'm always a person to have a good challenge. The bigger question is why? Why do we want this? Why do we desire that? Why do we feel we need certain things? So, with that being said, I think that's a great way to end this message of feeling like we have to always run ourselves into the ground just to make something of ourselves, to feel important based off of what we bring to the table, what we show to the rest of the world. I think a good challenge is to take more time to be present each day and not have to film or have to put something up on social media just to make a point. To really savor those moments and those surprises and those random situations we find ourselves in for us. And to not have to feel like we always have to be online. Hopefully this finds y'all well, and I look forward to spending each day intentionally from here on out. So that being said, I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.